when he told me about the moon, he didn't say he got it from remote viewing. He just told me factually. He said, oh, by the way, that the moon is hollow and it's not ours, that somebody else put it up. And these things I had heard of before.
It seems to go back and forth with the scientists and researchers saying the moon is real, the moon is fake. We have a great video here with Bill talking about that. Let's take a look at it.
Good.
Well, first of all, it's not your moon. And secondly, it's not a moon. It's a command center for a region of this part of the Milky Way galaxy. Okay? That's what it is. And it doesn't rotate. Everybody forgets the thing doesn't turn. Okay? So it's not a moon. It's not your moon. It's a command center with probably 25 to 35 different civilizations in there, all of which operate out here for this part of the Milky Way galaxy. And yes, some of those people actually are at war with each other, but they have personnel living here. Their families live here. Their kids are getting educated. They get young, they get older, they get married. It's a big hunk. It's a big facility.
Well, his conversations about the moon sort of surprised me. I had heard rumors that the moon might have been artificial in the past, but it wasn't until he came right out and said it that I started to pay attention. I asked myself the question, well, how could that be? And then I thought of the fact, well, the moon and the Earth rotate at common center of gravity, so clearly we can figure out what the density of the moon is because we know its size, we know its mass, and that means you should be able to show simply to anybody who's interested that the moon is partly hollow. And I've never seen any of the conventional astronomical organizations actually do that or make that point, which is surprising to me.
That is very surprising. Did he ever talk about the actual beings there, the different races? Did he get into any detail of who they were and where they came from?
No, remember what we have in the first two books are from what he typed down, and he didn't type everything, but he did make it clear that the moon was hollow. And he made the point that he made in the video that it's unlikely that it is exactly the right position and exactly the right rotation rate for it to be where it is, so that we can't see the backside of the moon. And that happens to be at the exact distance where you get an eclipse.
Where do you think Bill got this information from? Was it the Germans? Was it from working at TRW?
Well, Bill got a lot of information about the Nazis from various sources. I'm not really sure that I thought about all the sources, but it was clear to me that the statements about the Nazis having the capability in 1942 to put the first man, a German Navy commander, on the moon is very true, very likely to be true. I don't recall that that's in Bill's book, but because of this question about the moon being occupied, it caused me to read some other literature on the subject, and I've come to the personal conclusion that that's a true report, that the Germans actually did have a guy on the moon.
So they were the first Earthlings to be on the moon.
Yeah, right, in 42.
Mm-hmm.
And then, of course, corollaries to that in the context of the secret space program is they might well have been the first people to go to Mars with a group that couldn't make it in and they died. But that's not anything that Bill and I ever talked about in detail. I'm really not sure I can answer the question of where Bill got his information about the people on the moon. He alluded to a couple dozen or 30 or so civilizations that were in sort of harmony with each other. That's not anything that he and I personally talked about that I can remember.
Bill mentioned on the video that it's not your moon. He didn't say it's not our moon. So who is he directing that at?
I think that's a really interesting, subtle question. It's not the one I've thought of, but it's certainly true that that's what he said, is that it's not our moon.
Maybe he's talking about the human civilization here on Earth.
I think the fact that there are civilizations on Earth was always in his mind, whereas he did not have a great focus on civilizations that were thousands of years old that may still be living here. Nevertheless, he accepted that. He wanted to really understand the relationship to today's world, the World War II, and what might be next, and how could we explore the nearest stars. He wanted really to do these explorations, and then emotionally, he wanted to stop the slavery.
Do you know of anything with the Germans? Have they been back